Yo, what it do, man? It's your boy P Way here with Proving Grounds Guys podcast for the truth tellers and never failures.
What
Listen,
it do, man? It's your boy P
what
Way here with
a
Proving Grounds Guys
great
podcast.
game. What a great game that we just witnessed, man. I tell you what. Colorado didn't play their best. They didn't play their best, but they got the job done, man. And there's a lot to really unravel here as we are now really seriously talking Big 12 championships. We are seriously talking Big 12 championships, man. What a day. So, first, I want to start off, man. Let's go over some stats. I'm going to pull it up. Great game. Let's see. Let me pull up some stats real quick and see what we got. All right, so checking this out. So for Utah, we had Isaac Wilson. He went 21 for 40, 236 yards, two touchdowns, and three interceptions. Then on the ground, they had Mike Mitchell for 7 carries and 28 yards. And receiving, they had their tight end, 4 receptions for 78 yards. And Dorian Singer, who had 5 receptions for 65 yards and a TD. And for the Buffs, we had Shador Sanders, 30 completions with 41 attempts, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. We had us Isaiah Ostave. He had 7 carries for 49 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Travis Hunter also had that 1 carry for 5 yards and a touchdown. And Charlie finally got in the zone in the end zone as well with 1 touchdown. Draylon Miller, 6 receptions, 108 yards, and 1 touchdown. Will Shepard, 5 receptions, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, man, from the jump, man, this was a great game. They had a couple, big prospects in attendance as well. So it was very important that they put on a good showing. I'm going to start with Colorado's offense. Now, offensively, I felt like things were very stagnant. A lot of self-inflicted wounds by the offense with the holding. They have to get that stuff together, man. When we're talking these playoffs, we really want them to make that run in this Big 12 championship when they be going against BYU. They cannot kill themselves like they did this game. And it's amazing that they killed themselves and still won in the fashion that they did. But the offensive line has to improve. I think Seaton, he had a little bit of a rough game. Seaton had a little bit of a rough game. I think that, this is what happens when he steps up to this level of competition. We saw this versus Nebraska, and now we're seeing this versus Utah. Players get bigger, players get faster. He still had a good game, a decent game, I would say. But he definitely, this was a little bit rough for him. Shador. Shador came out and threw that first interception off the jump, off the back. And we seen this out of Shador a couple of times, especially throwing over the middle. Sometimes he has a difficulty reading exactly what the linebackers are doing and the safeties at times. But he stayed poised and he bounced back. I think a lot of stuff with the offense being so stagnant is just the same old Colorado. It's a couple things. One is the run game. At the run game, they run all their runs from the shotgun formation. You know what I'm saying? So with that, that gives the defense a chance to keep the two linebackers down and their five defensive linemen up front. And that's really all they have there to stop the run. So Colorado has to do a better job, I think, of mixing it up, which they're not going to do at this point. They're 8-2. We're so deep in the season. Colorado's not going to switch their run game plan. And that's what you're seeing teams kind of expose on them. They have to establish the run. They have to mix it up every now and then. A lot of these sacks and you see all the pressure that's getting to Shador. It's the route tree that these receivers are running. I think that's another thing that needs to be adjusted. We need more drag routes. We need more routes across the middle. more crossing routes. A lot of times they run a lot of hitches and goes. Every now and then you'll see a couple slants, which was big for them. But for the most part, they don't do a lot across the middle. And when you're playing teams with great defenses like Utah, I need to see just a little bit mix of more routes. Because when we saw them hit across the middle, like that slant to Wester, that's when you see those plays really pop. Even they had a slant to Shepard at one point. He ended up fumbling, but it was a good pass. So I would like to see them just mix that in more because it looks like Shador basically drops back and every time he's having to scramble and make something shake because one, they're going a lot of deep routes and then he doesn't see it and then he just scrambling to try to make something work. So I would like for Pat Schumer definitely to add a couple more, you know, short passes in that passing game. But this was ugly, man, in a way with the offense because it was one of those games again where they just kind of stale, kind of got ugly there. You know, they weren't really moving the ball, and it's pretty consistent when you're watching this team with Colorado. There are these moments where they just aren't moving the ball. They just aren't making plays. And I felt like the offense was just not seeing what we're seeing on the TV. Obviously, they're seeing something different. But once again, it's those running those middle routes, going across that middle. Even Travis Hunter, when he had that amazing catch, if you break that play down, he's going across the middle. There was a hole there, right in the middle in that zone. If he would have stopped and just sat, Shador could have hit him early. But then he extended and he ended up making that amazing catch. So it's just a little things I think that they can adjust, and I think they know that because you can tell by the reaction out of Shador after the game. They know this was not their best game, but it's crazy we're saying that, and they won 49-24. And then that leads me to Colorado's defense. Man, we talked about how much they improved, and this was another game where we saw that. You have players such as, Hill Green has been making an impact, has done very well playing that Tampa 2 zone coverage. Excuse me. Very well playing that Tampa 2 zone coverage. This is his second game with an interception. McNeil has been a force up front. He's definitely has caught his rhythm. Even the kid was number 27, Wade. He's came out of nowhere since being healthy. Is playing really well. I like BJ Green. I mean, that whole defense is flying around. Selman Craig is Selman Craig. He's just everywhere. There was that lapse. A big play today for Utah was that one-on-one where I think it was Singer for them who caught that touchdown over Travis Hunter. Listen, when you are DB1 like him, you cannot get comfortable and bored out there. And I think that's just what happened. Whenever Travis Hunter gets beat, is usually typically not, because of bad play, you know what I'm saying, or bad form or anything he's doing fundamentally wise. It's simply sometimes mentally. Mentally, he has to understand that they're going to take a shot. I know you don't see a lot of attempts. I think he only has 27 attempts on the whole season. So that's averaging, let's say they play what? This is 10 games now. So what, two maybe a game? He's only getting two passes his way a game, and I think Travis Hunter just got bored there and kind of had a little mental lapse and he got beat. And that's one thing that he can add to his game. You look at the great corners like Revis, that's what he was great about. Revis didn't get a lot of action, but when he did, he made them pay. He maybe got maybe three targets sometimes a game in the highlight of his career, in the high of his career, excuse me. And that's what Travis has to learn. You can't get complacent out there. You cannot get bored. They're going to try you at some point. And I think that was the case where Travis Hunter got a little bored and, Utah made him play. And you can see that he was very, very upset. But he did have a great pick in this game as well with good defense by Hood. He got beat at first, but then he closed that gap and got the pick for Travis Hunter. And he needed this pick, I think, in my honest opinion, where you talk about what Genty is doing at Boise State and then having Travis Hunter get that pick. He just needs a little bit more stats sometime to kind of, widen that argument. I think it's easily you can see he's the best player in college football, but what Genty is doing is very special as well. So I think, Hunter just needed a little bit more stats. And then obviously to go with the fact that he's playing both ways to kind of widen that gap for him to win the Heisman. So, great game by Colorado. Offense has to improve. They still did a good job. I'm really proud of Draylon Miller this game, stepping up in place of Jimmy Horn. Really good game by him. Stepping up in his absence. He had over 108 yards and 6 receptions and a touchdown. And he's one of those freshmen who I definitely have that's going to really carry this torch, especially when you have all these reserves. They got Baby T.O. waiting to come next year, and Adrian Wilson, who's a prospect they just got. They're going to be good for a while. And I'm glad that he contributed very, very well. I'm so also happy for Charlie, man. Charlie finally got some action and got that touchdown, man. And I think, he started this season as a starter. It was good to see him get in there just for the morale, just for the team. You can see that this team is definitely close knit, very, very close knit. So it was good to see Charlie do his thing and get in there and get that touchdown, man. So defensive wise, Shiloh had a a forced fumble at the end of the game, and I was really happy to see that because I've been really, really tough on Shiloh this year. I thought that Shiloh, you know, kind of took a step back in his production, I believe, since he's been at Colorado. There's been some things that I want to see more out of him in the coverage and wrapping up and tackling. So it's good to see him come up, with that forced fumble and get in the fold and get in, in the game with everyone else. So good game. Utah was really handicapped. They had a lot of injuries. They're on their fourth. I think they said this was their fourth or third quarterback. But I tell you what, that kid Wilson, I didn't know that was Zach Wilson's brother. The first round pick from the Jets a couple years back. He's solid. He's solid. I think he played like a freshman. Obviously, there were some throws that were inaccurate and a couple bad reads, but he got a little something. I like what he has over there for Utah, and Utah is all about their defense. So I like what the kid brought to the table. I think they have a bright future with him, and that was good to see him, play against this level because this Colorado defense is no slouch, man. They have proven this year with those additions in that defensive front and the linebacker play that they are different. And I can already see Saps gonna come back. He's probably gonna get an extension and come back because man, this is night and day what we're seeing out them boys. And I'm just very proud of that defensive line, man. They are like seriously carrying that defense so far. So, great game by the Buffs. What happens next? I told you guys from here, the next game is the most important versus Kansas. Listen, Kansas record for those who haven't followed that team. It may they may have an ugly record, but I'm telling you, they play everyone very, very tough. Very, very tough. And I believe this is an away game for Colorado as well. That Kansas game next week, that's the one. That's the one where things can shake up. Depends on how Kansas State plays on out. Depends on how Arizona State. We need Colorado to win this next game, and I believe this is their hardest game remaining. Is versus Kansas. Kansas is playing man some good football, but they just have this knack of not closing out big games. And what we've seen it with Colorado, sometimes they go through these periods where they kind of stalemate. So I got next week with them versus Kansas. Man, that's a very, very important game for them to get to that Big 12 championship. But more or less, man, I'm proud of them. Man, I'm proud of them this game. You need these ugly wins sometimes. And this shows you kind of the level that this team is currently at this year because you need these ugly wins. You see it in the NFL all the time. Teams like the Chiefs who are undefeated. A lot of their wins this year was ugly. And Colorado kind of got a sense of that. I think it was a wake-up call. I'm glad Travis got beat today. I'm glad Shador kind of threw a pick today. They needed that, wake-up call. Like, hey, we did not play our best game. Even though they won by a lot, I think they need this going forward. So, this should really help them out in the future. Um, for all y'all that's tuning in, man, this is a new channel, man, Proving Grounds. I cover Colorado Buffs. I also do, some live sports plays as well and reactions. I'm covering all the recruiting scenes. You can check out my videos. I have reacted to all of the new Colorado Buffs who are coming in next year as well. So go ahead and check those out. Um, and yeah, man, I love this game for the Colorado Buffs, man. I just love seeing them get this blowout, and I love the fact that they did it in a ugly fashion in a way because I think teams can get complacent, and that's one thing you see that Coach Prime preaches to this team all the time, and you see why he preaches discipline and consistency because they have games like this where they're killing themselves and they just have to push through. So I'm just kind of glad that they had this type of game, and we'll see what the future holds. But as far as the Heisman race, it's getting pretty. I want to say it's pretty 100% that Travis Hunter is going to win the Heisman. I think he finished these last two games strong. Thankful. I'm very thankful that Colorado has won 8 games. So it's pretty 100% that Travis Hunter is going to win the Heisman this year. Great job by Coach Prime. That's another thing I want to kind of talk about. I don't know if people know this, but last year, coaching wise, like with time management and certain decisions, he was not that good. I think that kind of went under the radar, and it seems like he has made a lot of improvements himself with how he's managing his team, the staff around him. I love Rob Livingston for the defense. Pat Shermer, I think he can improve a little bit with some plays on the offense, but the way he's managing the game and time management, there are games this year where he has managed the game better than the opposing coach, which I don't think happened not one time last year. So, I got to give my kudos to Coach Prime and what he has done and improved himself, to better lead this team because he already had the motivation. We know that. You know what I'm saying? We know that he's going to get the best out of his players through talking and motivating and being an example. But from a coaching aspect, I've seen that he has improved a lot this year. So that's good. And I think that's why we're seeing them at 8-2. And, everything's in their destiny to win the Big 12. So you guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think of this game, man. How proud you are of the Buffs, man. I was so glad just to hop on real quick after the game and kind of give you guys my thoughts. And like I said, this is your boy, man, P Way here at Proving Ground. Shout out to all my PGs out there, and I'm gonna see you guys next time. One love, peace.